Hello. So here we go. This is my rant about the US not qualifying for the World Cup. A lot of people here now in the States, it's finally hit home and are frustrated with what's been going on over the last 15 years that I've been here in the US. So when you see all these people on social media, on TV, ranting and raving about the US being so poor, when you go off on your rant and your rave, you have to have a solution. Ranting and raving has no substance when you don't have a solution. That's the world of today that we live in. People complain, a little bit like our politicians, but no one's got an answer. So here's my rant at US soccer in general, but I've got a solution. And it's what I believe will work. People will disagree with me, but I'm going to rant because I'm so frustrated about what's been going on over the 15 years I've been here. And then people can decide on whether they think I'm right or I'm wrong, and I'm okay for people to disagree. That's perfectly fine. But here's my rant. In the US, they love talking about elite, and I think we should get back to grassroots soccer development. If you're talking about soccer development, that cannot be associated with recreational players that play for 2 months. Even though in the recreational system and they're playing for 2 months, I still think those children should be getting the premier treatment. Whatever level they play at, the coach has got to cover the basics of core values, life lessons, if you like, of work ethic, respect, and behaviour. Those three, before anything, have to be addressed. And then you can move on then to the technical, the tactical, the physical, the social, the mental side of the game. But if those three things are not addressed at whatever level the soccer team's at, then kids are either just going to continue to misbehave. Your good kids on the team will get sick of it and will probably leave. So when I talk about soccer development, I'm not talking about recreational. Soccer development has got to come from a player that is playing year-round soccer, depending on how many times a week they practice. But I've had some people say, well, soccer is cheap in the USA, go and play recreational, and that is fine. There is no problem with that whatsoever. But if we're going to discuss soccer development in the US, it's got to come from a player that plays year-round soccer. So when we play year-round soccer, the expense is a lot. It's crazy. It's a lot of money. When I ran a soccer club, I tried to make the expense as cheap as we possibly could. And we charged half of everybody what they charge here in Oregon. And I tried to do it that way. But the problem is the US has created a model where coaches are expected to get paid. So now let's look at the core values of the grassroots soccer club, the local soccer club that gives its members a year-round soccer program. So in the recreational side, we could talk and have a debate on that side on what they could do better. But this is talking about the year-round soccer clubs that provide coaching and year-round soccer for players in the US. The pay-to-play is difficult because the clubs will not be able to get coaches if they're not paying. The one problem I had when I ran the soccer club is when I met coaches, every coach that I received a resume from, I went out and met. And I went out and met them and I showed them our plan. But the first thing that came out of the mouth was 90% of the time was, how much do I get paid? Now, my first year in charge, we didn't pay anybody because we had to look at the model of how cheap can we make this for the kids in the community to play. So that's a problem in the US, that you've created this model where coaches are expected to make between $8,000 to $15,000 a year coaching a team. Now, if that coach can now pick off 3 teams, they're making a decent living by coaching. But now you're coaching 3 teams. What level of commitment can you give all those 3 teams? You can't give them the same level of commitment. So here's where I think we need to get better at, and we need to fix the problem at grassroots soccer, because you have coaches that are coming in just for the pay, and the pay alone. Then that's a red flag. A coach should want to coach for nothing, and give the same performance whether they're getting 15 grand a year or whether they're getting nothing. But we have created this, so we've got to deal with it. So now we're paying our coaches. How do we deal with it at local club year-round soccer level? So the first problem I see is with board members. Board members of soccer clubs are usually on the board because they have a child playing in the club, and that is fine. But what do they offer? What do they contribute to their role on the board? If their contribution has a lot of input on how the soccer club is run and they're successful at their role on the board, then that's okay. But you have to look at it. The reason they're on the board is because the child plays. That's not a reason to join a board. You've got to get onto the board to have an impact. So now let's just say you have a board, and everybody on that board, from the secretary, the president, the treasurer, fundraiser, they all do their jobs well. So we know we've got a board that all do their job well. The next question would be, does the soccer club have a plan? Because the soccer club is going to outgrow all the players, all the board members, everybody. The soccer club is going to be there for years to come. So now, is there a soccer plan in place, a development plan for players and for coaches? And the clubs that I've coached at over the 15 years of being here, I coached at 2 clubs in Virginia, and I've coached at 2 clubs here in Oregon. And yes, it's only 4 clubs, but those clubs that I coached at were supposedly the top clubs in that state. There was no plan, because I asked, where's the plan? What am I looking to do in terms of coaching? What do you expect from me? What are our systems of play? There was nothing. It was just go out there and do your thing, and then no DOC came and watched my practice sessions, and nobody was holding anybody accountable in the club. So when I'm doing an under-15s at one of the clubs that I coached here in here in Oregon, when I first started, I've got an under-15s boys team, and then you start hearing people saying, I've been here since I was 6 and 7 years old, and those poor kids still don't understand the game. So when we would have coaches meetings, I would ask the coaches, why is it that this kid has been here 6, 7 years and they still don't understand the game? We've got a broken system. We need a plan, and coaches need to be held accountable for what they're doing. So we're starting with the board members. Get all your board members that contribute to the club and what the club's goal is. Now you've got to have a plan. So when your DOC leaves, the next DOC, they run the program from the plan that the club has. And if they don't, then you fire them. A lot of these DOCs think they're untouchable, but even Jose Mourinho is held accountable and has a boss. So hold these DOCs of your club, hold your board members to standards that all focus towards player development. If the DOC can get hold of your development plan and tweak it and put their knowledge into that development plan and improve it, then yes, you can allow that. But is your president of your club and your board members Are they holding your DOC or your technical director to standards? And are they holding them accountable? It seems that club soccer now is just bring as many players as you can, charge between, I don't know, 1,200 to 2.5 grand a year, and just keep bringing in the money. Because all these board members, a majority of them are just volunteers, so they're not getting paid. The money just seems to be going towards the coaching staff. So now you've got, let's say you have a board member and you have a plan. Have you got a DOC that's going to implement that plan? And that's where we have to start. You know, the members of these clubs, you know, parents, and I know that there is sometimes, you know, a problem between parents and the club where parents complain. But you have a valid reason to complain. If you ask your club, do we have a development plan? Now, a development plan is not someone just putting a mission statement on a website and saying, oh, well, you know, we want this for our kids, because a lot of them don't even follow the mission statement anyway. But there's nothing wrong with a parent. When you take your child to a soccer club and asking, is there a development plan? And is there any way I can see that development plan? But obviously, it's the way that you go about and say it, and you don't want to go in there and be the parent that seems to know everything. But just asking questions before you take your child to that club, there's nothing wrong with that. So here's how we fix it with US soccer. US soccer like to just associate themselves with elite and start working towards the national team. And I understand that with what's gone on this week. But they have to get involved with grassroots soccer. Every single player on the national team, on the women's national, they all came through grassroots soccer. So you have to get back in touch with grassroots soccer. I'm in sales, and I don't go out there and try and sell the product on the carpet. I try and sell myself. So then my customers, if they get a sense that they can trust me and I communicate with them, now I can sell the product that I'm selling in my day job. The US soccer has to do the same. Get out there and get in touch with the grassroots people, where it all starts, and get out there and help for free. You've got so much money that you can put a task force together and get this task force going around the country and getting these grassroots coaches and these grassroots players, getting them some help, because too many kids in the US, by the time they're 12 and 13 and 14, they've already left the game. But we have to get out there and we have to get in touch with the real people at grassroots level. I'm raising my voice a little bit here because I get so angry. I've been in here 15 years and I get so angry and frustrated that we all sit back and don't do anything about it. You know, when I ran the soccer club, every coach that joined the club, they got the blueprint of the club and they got 25 practice sessions related to their age group. And I gave it to them and I said, there you go. And then I monitored them. And we had coaches meetings and we spoke about player development and coach development. And that's what US soccer have to do. You have to get in touch with grassroots and stop endorsing these clubs that have a reputation of winning tournaments so it looks good for you. You have to go in with your plan, because US soccer do have a great plan on development. But how many of these clubs know about it? So you've got to walk into a club, and whether that is a low-level club that barely win a tournament, you've got to go in there and say, go to their technical director and say, are you willing to follow the plan of the US Soccer Federation? And if that technical director says yes, then you have a staff that's always there to help and to monitor what he's doing and to help, or what she's doing, and you help them. And then you endorse that soccer club. And that soccer club, you know, they can wear the US logo all on their sleeve. And when a parent is looking for their child to look to play, they've got to look and say, well, does this soccer club follow the US Soccer Federation plan? I want to take my child to that soccer club. So the DA Academy Yes, it's good, but clearly it's not working. You cannot just endorse clubs that you think are clubs that win. Any club should be endorsed by US Soccer if they are willing to follow the plan. Now, if you've got a club that are not willing to follow your plan, whether they have a DA or not, you don't endorse them. Now, whether this is the top youth club in the country, if they say, oh no, we're not following your plan, then all right, we're not going to endorse you and we're going to take the DA off you. Because we have to start somewhere, and I believe we have to start at grassroots level and get a task force together that's going to go out there that don't necessarily have a license. They have people skills. They can go out and they can show you what works at under 9s, what works at under 11s, what works at under 14s. They can go out and they can run practices and they can prove to the people that they're going out to that, hey, this works. At under 9s, these practice sessions work. Your players will love them. Your players will have fun. Your coaches will learn. But here's where we're at. At under 9, we shouldn't even be talking about elite. Just let these kids play. If I ran an under 9s practice session here for a year-round soccer program, I could run that practice over at the Barcelona Academy and those kids will still learn and have fun. Yes, the level of play is going to be different. The practice sessions will be the same. And this is what we have to do. And just let me know your thoughts, you know. You can go to my website at soccerpracticesessions.com. But I'm sick to death of just seeing all hot air and no actions. There has to be actions, and you have to get out there and you have to get in touch with reality and let the people know that you're there to help and it doesn't cost anything because you've got so much money you can do that. Now, I've written to US Soccer numerous times saying that they need a grassroots task force, and I would love to be on something like that to help. I'd love to get out there and help. All they got to do is reach out to me and I'll be there in a heartbeat to help. But I'm sick of nobody's doing anything about it and we just talk a lot of hot air and there's no actions. But now, I'm hoping with what's happened this week that we're going to do something about it. We're not going to copy anybody else's model. You know, the Iceland model is now going to be the in thing, which what they've done is amazing. And it's worked for Iceland. What the Spanish have done, what the Germans have done, it's all great. We have to find what works for the American player. And we have to get out there and we have to do it. And we have to get our boots on the ground and get everybody on board with singing from the same hymn sheet. And we will get better. All right, so that's my rant over. Just let me know what you think. All right, bye.